This is my crochet graveyard, and in here is all of my kind of finished projects, I guess. Pretty much all of them are finished projects that I don't like. They are mostly my much earlier projects when I first started crocheting. So some of them, the quality isn't the best, the color choices are very interesting to say the least, but this is the graveyard, you know. It's actually, I think, quite like nostalgic to revisit my crochet graveyard, because I've been crocheting for a couple of years. It's quite nice to kind of look back on my earlier projects, and also to see how far I have grown and how much more skilled I've become in not only crochet but also putting color palettes together and making those garments fit my body a lot better. So if you missed the previous part to this series, I am basically revisiting my crochet graveyard and going through some of the items that are in here and repurposing them. And whilst I'm here, if you enjoy all things crochet, from tutorials to vlogs to whatever the hell this video is, feel free to give me a little subscribe, because I have a lot of fun content already posted and also coming. So today's episode is actually going to be quite nostalgic, I think. This was actually the first thing I ever crocheted. And if you want to kind of hear about like the lore of how I started crocheting, I go through it in quite a lot of detail in part 1, which I will put the link to in the description if you want to check out part 1 of this series. But this was the first thing I ever crocheted. It is a beanie. It was from Erin Ryko, who used to be Erin B Tutorials on YouTube, and I followed their tutorial and I crocheted myself a hat. This was the first time I ever put hook to yarn and actually crocheted something. I didn't do any previous practicing, no swatches. I literally didn't do a single thing with a crochet hook and yarn before I did this project. And all things considered, considering this is quite literally the first thing I ever crocheted, this is actually not that bad. Like, it's not great, don't get me wrong, but it's not that bad. And I actually ended up making this for my partner because he wanted a beanie, and we went out to Hobbycraft, he chose the yarn, and I made him this. He has worn it a few times, bless his heart, because he loves me and he supports me. He's worn it a few times, but it's not the best. You can probably see that the edges are not very straight, my stitches are not great, the tension is quite tight. So I think I can rework this into something so much better. So this yarn, like I mentioned, I did get from Hobbycraft, but I was unable to find it in my Hobbycraft again for such a long time, and then I did find it. So it's actually the James C. Brett marble yarn, and it is in the shade MT6. At least name it something fun. But that's the name of the yarn, and basically what my plan is to frog this and remake it, because currently what my partner's feedback said was that it was a little bit too short, and he wanted it to kind of cover his ears, and it was just a tiny bit too short. It kind of almost sat more like a micro beanie, I guess, not super micro, but sat a little bit more like a micro beanie. So he wanted it a little bit longer, and he doesn't particularly like the kind of ribbing that I've done on this hat. And after kind of discussing it with him for a little while, I honestly don't know what the hell he wants. I think he wants like a machine knit beanie, which obviously is kind of like impossible to do with crochet. But he basically, the things that he said he didn't like was the fact that it had like 3D ridges, you know, and obviously anything that's kind of like in the back loop, or anything that's like a form of ribbing, which you kind of need to obviously have the stretch to be able to put it on your head comfortably, has that look to it. So I think what I'm gonna do is maybe do slip stitches throughout the whole hat, which I'm not very happy about, but you know, I love him and I want to create him something that he's actually going to like. So I think slip stitches is the way to go. I will obviously keep you posted, but that's the plan. So crochet another hat, and also crochet him a pair of mittens, because my partner has the coldest hands known to man. You know that kind of stereotype where it's like, oh, the girlfriend always has cold hands and puts them on the warm boyfriend? No, it's actually the other way around for us. I am actually the warm one, and he puts his freezing cold hands on me all of the time. And we are in autumn now, so his hands are always cold, and he doesn't like wearing gloves. So he's been banging on about how he wants some mittens, and he's been asking me for ages to crochet him some mittens. So I figured now is the time. And the parameter for the mittens is that he doesn't want proper mittens. He wants, I don't know if you remember, but back in the day they used to have like fingerless gloves, and then it had like a little extra bit to kind of fold over as to form a mitten. So you had like a cut off, which was just fingerless glove with a thumb, and then you had an extra bit to wrap over. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Whether I will be able to succeed, I don't know, because I've never seen a crochet pattern that looks like that, so who fucking knows. But that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna try to do. You're all coming on the journey with me. I'm sorry, you have no choice, but that is the plan. My partner is also away for a few days, so I'm hoping to at least get the beanie done in that time. I think it's gonna take me a little bit of time to frog it. Hopefully not too much, because I can't imagine I was weaving in my ends very well as my first ever crochet project. I don't even know if I'd woven my ends at all, so we'll find out very shortly. But that is what the plan is. That is what we're going to do, so let's do it. Okay, so here is where I kind of got to from like the couple of hours I did yesterday daytime and then the evening, and I think I've got quite a fair bit done. So I'm doing a big old rectangle of slip stitches in the back loop only, and the thing with slip stitches in the back loop is that it has this really nice but quite tight stretch, which I really like, and then it means that when it's not kind of stretched, it's like a flat fabric. So I'm hoping this is kind of the closest to what my partner actually wants. Looking at the kind of rows, it does look like knit, so slip stitch in the back loop only looks like knit in my opinion. So I think this is going to work, and it means that it has a really nice tight stretch, and so over time it won't kind of like warp and stretch out. But yeah, this is all I got done. It seems like nothing, but I'm doing slip stitches in the back loop only, so it's gonna take me a really long time. And considering this was what, like 4 hours, maybe 4 hours of work, I reckon I should / hopefully finish it today, and then I can kind of get a start on the mittens, because my partner is away for a few days, but I'm seeing him tomorrow, so I don't have a lot of time to do this without him here, and I would like to just get it done, so fingers crossed. The idea is to give him both the hat and the mittens as a Christmas gift, but we are going on holiday to Prague before Christmas, and it's going to be chilly in Prague, and I really think that he would be able to kind of utilize the beanie and the mittens whilst we're on our holiday. So I'm thinking of just giving them to him as like an early Christmas present, maybe like a week or so, a couple of weeks before we actually go on the holiday, and then this would just act as like an early Christmas present, which I think is okay. So yeah, that's my update. It's going well. I really like how the kind of the variegated color is working. It looks really, really nice. You've got like some dark green, there's the lighter green, there's like flecks of kind of this pinky color, flecks of cream. So yeah, it looks really nice, and I'm just gonna get cracking. Good morning, it is the next day and here is where I got with the hat. It looks crazy right now because but I basically finished it, joined it together. I just slip stitched the sides together and now I just need to kind of join one top bit and then obviously yank it tight so that it can become a beanie. It does look very small right now, but like I said, the slip stitch ribbing has a lot of stretch to it, and I measured it against one of his existing beanies, which is so old that it doesn't have, it's just stretched. Like there's no actual stretch to it because it's just stretched out. That's how old this beanie is. So I'm actually quite glad that I'm making one for him because he's very much like a comfort person. He's had that beanie for a really long time, so hopefully this can kind of like replace the old one and he won't wear this like jacked up beanie now. But yeah, so when I kind of stretched this, it fit the size of the beanie that he already had that I know he likes the fit of. So I am gonna block this, that's why I haven't joined the top yet, but I wanted to block it as like a tube, you know, so that means I can block it this way and then I can block it this way as well. I don't think I'm going to go too crazy with blocking. I don't think I'll pin it down. I'll just give it like a little steam block just to kind of like loosen the fibres a little bit, and I think that will really help, and then it will just give it a little bit extra length so that he has space to kind of like flip this side and have the little kind of ridged part. So the beanie is basically done, and I did make a start on the like hand warmers, gloves, whatever you want to call them. So I did slip stitch ribbing again for the kind of cuff, and then I started to just do the actual mitten part really. So this is kind of what it looks like. I did go for like quite a long cuff because then he can kind of wear it like a bit shorter if he wants to, or he can kind of pull it down and have it covering his entire wrist sort of thing. So luckily I don't need to do kind of any increases or anything, and I did do it a little bit bigger just because I know that he's not going to be a fan of stuff that's like really tight on his wrist. So I'm very early into it, you know, only a couple of rows into the actual like mitten part. But I am going to pause here because I am on my way to go and see my partner, and obviously like I mentioned, this is hopefully going to be a nice surprise for him. So I'm going to hide this and then go see my partner, and then when he comes home or when he's not around again, maybe he goes into the office or sees a friend or whatever, then I can work on the rest of the mittens and then finish off the beanie. But I think for essentially not even 2 days worth of crocheting, I've basically done the beanie and I've made a start on the mittens, which is kind of where I wanted to be at this point. So I feel good, and I will keep you guys posted on my progress. I actually can't remember where I kind of left off things. Today I'm hopefully gonna get the, well I mean I'll get the hat finished, and then when it comes to the hand warmers, here is kind of how far I got. Again, can't really remember where I left things, but here's how far I got. I did obviously the cuff, and then I just made a very small start on the actual kind of glove mitten part of it. I actually have never made mittens or a glove or fingerless gloves or anything like that, so I'm kind of just winging it. And I think at some point relatively soon, maybe within the next like couple of rows, I'm probably going to need to like split off to do the thumb or like the thumb hole, so I'm going to have to figure that out, which is a bit annoying, but I think once I have that figured out it should be fine if I don't throw it on the ground. But yeah, so it's going well. My partner is currently working in the office, and then he is going to a gig directly after he finishes, so I basically have like the rest of the day and then the entire evening. It's like 3 o'clock now. I had some shit I had to do earlier today, so I've kind of started crocheting a lot later than normal. I think it's like about 3:30 now, and I do need to eat some lunch. So yeah, I'm just gonna get cracking. Today is actually Halloween, hence, you know, the festive sweater that I'm currently wearing. But yeah, so today is Halloween, so I'm probably gonna watch maybe Practical Magic, maybe Halloween Town, maybe Scream 3, maybe all of them. Maybe all of them, who knows. I've also just started watching Tokyo Ghoul, the anime, and I am really obsessed. I watched like 5 episodes yesterday when I was like, oh, I'll just start watching it, and I watched like basically half of the first season. But I love it. It's really good, thoroughly enjoying it. So I will see how I get on, and I will keep you guys posted. You may be thinking it's like 9 p.m. because it's really dark. It's not, it's like 5 o'clock. So I think the clocks went back or went forward, like the Sunday just gone. So now it's getting dark really early. It's getting dark at like 4 o'clock. So apologies for the, I keep dropping everything. Apologies for the not great lighting. This is just what I'm gonna have to deal with. But I have finished the hat. I did kind of sew up the top, obviously pulled it tight, and then I always find that there's always like still a little bit of a hole, so I kind of sew through the gap, and the hat is done. This is the beanie. It looks really long, but I have measured it against one of my partner's existing hats, and it is the right length. And as well, like, he can obviously kind of adjust the brim of it so it's a bit wider if he needs it to be or wants it to be. I haven't woven in the ends yet, but that is the hat. I have just been working on the mitten, whatever you want to call it, and I think it's turned out so cute. Okay, so let me demonstrate, because I'm very nearly finished. I've just got like the thumb bit to do. So I've obviously got the ribbing, and then I made a little thumb hole, okay, and then what I wanted was obviously to have kind of like essentially fingerless gloves, and then when it gets a bit chilly, all he has to do is fold this little bit over and it protects the rest of his hand. So I think I just kind of need to maybe give it a little block, because I think where I've sewed up the edges together, it's like a bit bumpy, you know. It's not as neat looking as I would like it to be, and I don't think that's due to my stitches or anything. It's literally just like when I joined it and I was like, oh, it's kind of a bit bumpy, but I think it's good other than that. And then all I've got left to do is just to crochet like the thumb, which is just like a couple of rounds of the little thumb hole that I've created. But this is fun, and I'm really impressed that I managed to kind of figure it out. I think this is really cute. I think this has turned out really, really nice, and basically exactly how I wanted, because I've never seen a crochet, like I've seen crochet mittens, crochet fingerless gloves, all of that, but I've never seen like one of these ones. And I don't know if you probably, I can't remember the last time I saw this kind of style of like mitten in the shops and stuff, but when I was younger these used to be all the rage. But the only difference was that these were like fingerless, so they had the kind of fingerless little bits, whereas this one is more just like arm warmer, and then you've got the mitten. But yeah, these used to be everywhere, and I haven't seen them in so long. I also have never seen a crochet one, so you saw it here first, everybody. I'm only joking. But yeah, I think it's really cute. In terms of time, it didn't take me long at all. I've just finished watching Practical Magic. Such a classic film. I love it. The soundtrack is also excellent. I always forget like how good the soundtrack is. And it's one of those things where it's like, when I hear those songs, I think of the scenes in Practical Magic, because I like really grew up with that film, you know. Like that DVD that I was watching was one of the first DVDs like I ever owned, as in like when DVDs became a thing, you know, like that's what that movie is. Like it's so old, it doesn't have a menu screen, like the DVD doesn't have like a menu, it doesn't have subtitles. So yeah, it's super old, but hey, as long as it plays the film, I don't care. But yeah, so I've watched Practical Magic. I ate some lunch earlier. It is like 5 o'clock. I'm not particularly hungry yet, but I will need to kind of have a break for dinner. But I plan on just finishing up the thumb hole, and then I can start on the ribbing for the second mitten. So this is going really well, and this actually worked up so much quicker than I thought. And I think obviously now I know what I'm doing for the second one, I reckon I'll be able to get that done super quick. And kind of timing wise, obviously like I'm trying to do this as like a surprise and then give it to my partner as a early Christmas gift before we go on holiday to Prague. Timing wise, I'm totally fine, because I've obviously got the rest of this evening, and he is seeing his friend on Friday night or Saturday night, sometime this weekend. He's seeing his friend for like a few hours, so I will have time then to do it. So I reckon I'll get probably the ribbing done maybe tonight, and then the rest of the mitten I'll get done in like a couple of hours when he's with his friend, which is great. So I'm not like particularly kind of rushed for time or anything, but I think it's going really well. I love it. I've just realised that I've made a boo-boo. So I finished off this this one. I finished off the thumbs. Obviously I've got some ends to weave in, and yeah, so this one's all done, and I've started on the second one. I've done the ribbing, attached it, and then I've just made a start on the actual kind of mitteny part. But obviously I want the joining seam to be kind of on the inside of the wrist, so it's not on the outside, so it's not as obvious. It's not particularly obvious, but you know, I think it's a bit nicer when this is like on the inside of clothing and stuff. So yeah, so obviously I want that to be on the inside, but I've realized obviously it's different, so you have a left hand and you have a right hand. So I've started I've basically gone over the part where I need to separate for the thumb, because I was doing it on this side to match this, but I need to do it on the opposite side. So I think this is my sign to give myself a little pause and finish for the day. I think it's like 9 something now. I've like had dinner and watched a movie and stuff. So yeah, so I think I'm going to give myself a pause for tonight, and then I will revisit this on the weekend when my partner is hanging out with his friend. Okay, it is a new day. My partner is hanging out with his friend today, so I am why do I keep dropping everything? Every single time I drop something. Anyway, my partner is out and about today, so I'm kind of having a chill day on my own, which is great because I love spending time on my own. I am great company. But my last update was that I had made a start on the second mitten, and that I did kind of like not fuck up, because it's like definitely fixable, but I just basically forgot that like your hand is a different shape on the other side. I am thinking, because I was trying this on today, I am thinking like I might just want to redo this part, like this section of it, because firstly I feel like this is quite pointy, which I'm not really the biggest fan of. I also think that whilst it's not like, you know, it's not bad by any means, I just feel like where I kind of decided to split off on this side and on this side, I feel like it's a bit too far over. I think I kind of need to bring it in over here and then bring it in over here as well, so it's like a little bit smaller, because when you put the mitten on it's like a little bit lopsided. I also feel like I need to make it a bit taller, because I have quite large hands and my partner's hands are not far off, like they're not considerably bigger than mine, because you know I have large hands, so it's kind of, you know, peeking through. So I think I need to do my decreases a little bit later in that sense. So I think I'm gonna redo this part of it, which is fine, it didn't take me super long, but everything else I'm really happy with, and then I can kind of officially count my stitches and my rows and stuff a little bit better, because I actually just did it without realizing, oh shit, I've got to, you know, make note of it because I need to do a second one. So yeah, so I think that actually makes a bit more sense, and even just kind of holding it up, you can see that like the seam is almost like a little bit lopsided. So yeah, I think I just want to tidy that up just a little bit. But yeah, that's the agenda for today. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna hopefully weave in the ends on the beanie as well, but I feel like weaving in the ends is kind of like the least priority, and I can just do that whenever. I do kind of want to focus on the actual crocheting part, especially when my partner isn't here for basically the entire day. I kind of like really want to utilize that time, you know. But yeah, that's my update. It's going good. Okay, the angle and the lighting is terrible, but I've just finished the second one and I'm trying to kind of figure out where I'm going wrong, because like this is worse somehow. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know where I'm going wrong, but I think like the width of it on this side is good, like the kind of where I've started it on this side is fine, but I think what I'm not realizing is that, because obviously this bit's huge, so I'm basically, when I'm coming back down on this side, I'm matching it to this side, but it's shorter because I've done more stitches on this side. Does that make sense? But I think I just need to, so just like sewed it up, so I think I'm gonna undo the sewing and then I'm gonna just frog like this part of it. I think that's potentially where I'm going wrong, because this looks crazy but this one looks so much better, but I didn't actually I did the same thing on this one, so I don't know. I haven't frogged this one yet, but this one does seem to be better. I'm gonna have a little think because I'm a bit confused as to how I'm going wrong with this, but I'll figure it out. Did it, I finished it. So I basically just made the amendments that I needed to make, and it's turned out a lot better. I think I'm gonna maybe block them just so they kind of don't look as pointy like when the mitten is on, but that's just kind of like unavoidable really. Like even the other one, when I actually put it on my finger, like on my hand, it does kind of look a bit pointy. So this one is basically done. I've just got the thumb to do, and then I've just got to weave in my ends, but it fits a lot better than the one I just did and the other hand, you know. So I think I've kind of got my technique down, and I've actually written down what I did so I don't forget this time. But yeah, I'm gonna have some lunch now. It's like 3 o'clock, so I've already had like quite a late start to the day. I watched Mary and the Witch's Flower. It's I believe a Studio Ghibli film, I want to say. If not, the animation style is very similar, but it was a beautiful film. I really liked it. That kind of film is actually what I wanted Kiki's Delivery Service to be, but that storyline, it was really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you enjoy Studio Ghibli films and you've not watched it, I highly recommend it. But yeah, so I'm gonna have a little break. I'm gonna have something to eat because I'm actually very hungry, and then I'm probably gonna stick on another film, and then I will work on my thumb, and then I'll redo the other mitten, and hopefully I'll be able to get it done by maybe about like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, with me like eating lunch, making lunch and stuff. I reckon I got it. I finished it! I did finish it the other day, but it was too dark and I wanted the lighting to be nice. So I finished the mittens. This is what they look like. They look so good. I'm so pleased with how these have turned out. And then obviously you can open the flap and have your fingers free. I think these are amazing. I'm really proud of myself for like figuring out how to do the kind of flappy bit, because I don't know about you, but I have not seen a single pattern, a tutorial that kind of shows you how to do this style of mitten. So I really need to just like stop underestimating myself, and like I can crochet and I can figure stuff out. I think like when my partner initially was like, this is what I want, I was a bit, not annoyed, but I was a bit like, oh, how am I gonna do that, you know? And I was a bit I don't know, confused. I was like, how am I gonna figure it out? Like, I've never done it before. I have to kind of use quite a lot of like mental power, but I figured it out, and it was actually relatively simple and relatively easy. So like I really need to stop underestimating myself. Like I am good at crochet, I am good at things, I can figure stuff out, I'm good at figuring stuff out, you know. So I'm really pleased. I'm really proud of how they've turned out, and I think my partner's going to really like them. And then we have the beanie. I am not a beanie person or a hat person, so this probably doesn't look that great on me, and obviously this does not go with what I'm wearing currently, but this is the beanie. It looks really good. Here's a little close-up. Is that good? Could you see it? But yeah, this is the beanie. I think it looks really nice. Obviously, like I said, my partner has like a taller head than me, and his main thing with the last one is that it wasn't quite long enough to be able to like cover his ears. So I have made it longer, and then it means that he can, even if it's a bit too long or ends up being a bit too long, he can fold this bit up a bit higher. So it's fine. But this is, you know, the finished product. Thank you so much for coming on this journey for me. I think this has been an absolute success, and I'm really excited to give these to my partner. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a little like, leave me a comment, let me know what you think of the little revamp that we've done. And of course, subscribe to my channel, because I do post a lot of crochet content such as tutorials, vlogs, and whatever the hell this kind of video is. And like I mentioned, this is part of a series, so I will be delving into the rest of my crochet graveyard to turn the yarn into something new, something a bit more exciting. So definitely subscribe if you want to see the next parts to this series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you on the next video.